Thank you so much for coming. Welcome to another episode of PG Radio. On this episode of my podcast, I have the world famous musician Zach Heckendorf. Is that the accurate description of where you stand?
On the way to world famous.
No, actually, I think I honestly, I have a view when I bring guests on, and that is that I will not endorse anybody whose work I do not believe in, and if I don't believe in their work and I still have them on, I make sure I disclaim. But your work for real is phenomenal, especially with respect to the commensurate attention that you might have received. I think you deserve way more than what you have. And
thank you, man.
This is my way of, let's just say, allowing people to understand the mask behind the Spotify cover page that Zach Heckendorf is. Right?
Word. I appreciate it, man.
And I mean, I wish you all the best, and I think I'm going to be some sort of a passive observer in terms of the journey that you take from here. It's been a pleasure knowing you for the 1 week that I have known you.
Yeah.
But let's get down straight to it, Zach. Where did this notion of being a musician come from? It's a difficult notion to grasp your head around, right? It's not that every musician gets. It's not like accountancy. Not everybody gets a piece of the cake. Only some people get the entire cake, and everybody else is, just a struggling artist.
Yes.
Where does this dream come from for you?
I think I've just always wanted to be. Ever since I was a kid, man, I just wanted to be a performer. Mm-hmm. But like I've wanted to be a songwriter too. So I don't know, man. I mean, it started when I was really young and I was listening to Backstreet Boys and NSYNC and Christina Aguilera.
You wanted to be in a boy band?
Yeah, man. I think I just
balls to admit that.
What's that?
It takes balls to admit that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
No, it does, I mean, I was into that stuff, and I'm just like I'm into the idea of like singing songs on a big stage that connect with lots of people. Mm-hmm. That just like it drives me.
I get the performance angle of it, but why music in particular? Why not say act, or why not say do something else that allows you to connect? Because music's a more ambiguous form of art too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like acting, you can connect with words that mean the same thing as they're said. With music, there is always poetry involved, and there is always this emotional swing involved. Why music? Why did you pick music for yourself?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I feel like more is communicated, at least for me, with music than with just literature, or for me music just speaks to my emotions in a very special way. And I like trying to do that with audiences.
I see.
Yeah.
And so you were very young when you got involved with this. You probably picked up a guitar, I would assume, in your formative years, 7 to 8 years of age. You already had a guitar next to you.
Yeah, when I was 10.
When you were 10.
Yeah.
And then how did things go from there?
I started writing from day one. Like I took a guitar lesson and I was writing songs that night. Mm-hmm. So that happened really quickly, and then man, it just became my thing. Like I did the 4th grade talent show, and then the 5th grade talent show, and then it just kept building until I was writing so many songs that by high school I already had 6-7 years of writing experience. Mm-hmm. And then I recorded some stuff in high school that kind of took off around Denver.
Mm-hmm. I've always been, I think envious is the correct word. I've sort of always been envious of people who discover their lifelong romances in a second. I'm a man who second guesses everything I do.
Same.
People who I love, to friends who I make, to the enterprises. I did not discover I love doing this as much as I do now until I was 23.
Yeah.
You were 10 when you got that. How does one know this is my thing? This is what I want to do?
I mean, for me, it's just it's something that's it's always been there. It's just been this constant in my life. So I guess I don't know, man. It is weird that I knew from such a young age.
Right.
But I mean, that can be disadvantage.
No. That's a solid advantage. I think that puts you 5 steps ahead, man.
Yeah.
I was still busy playing chess when I was 10, and that got me somewhere. I'm sure it has like a psychological impact, but
100%.
And I thought that was my romance, right? I was wrong with that notion back then. Of course, I should have known sooner. I was just not mature enough to. It did not look like the mathematical possibility of me ever being the world's best chess player would emerge.
Gotcha.
But I see that, and then you said there was something that took off sometime when you were in high school. What was that?
It was like a EP of 5 songs, and
what's it called?
I think it was just self-titled, like Zach Heckendorf.
Very egomaniac.
Yeah, exactly. No, and you can't find that online anywhere. I think I took that off, but it's it was 5 songs that just I was super hesitant to put them out. I was really scared to show them to a couple people, and like in like a couple months, it was weird. I went from like no one really knowing me at high school to like people like looking at me like,
oh,
you know
he's
what I mean?
that kid.
I had like mini fame in high school. But yeah, that kind of helped. I started getting shows after that, like professional shows, and it just kind of went from there. And then I ended up getting signed right after high school. Yeah.
Would you say you were a shy person otherwise? Like how?
Yeah.
Right? Would you say that it's like that all that fame, and if fame ever comes to me, I have a feeling I can handle it very well to an extent.
Yeah.
I'm good with being able to manipulate through crowds and navigate through stuff like that.
I'm sure. Yeah. That makes sense.
But would you say you were the kind of a person who was taken aback by all that fame?
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess fame in my situation is a strong word, but
like mini fame, even
mini fame. Yeah.
And high school mini fame is a lot of fame because the environment is so just like condensed, right?
Yeah.
It's like that's your world at that point, and everybody knows me suddenly from being. How did that work?
Well, I mean, honestly, I think I probably enjoy it. I mean, it's kind of nice. In some ways, it's weird, but I've gotten used to it because like. I'm in the business of attracting attention in a way. Do you know what I mean?
I absolutely.
And I guess now we all are.
Right. With Instagrams and cleavages and Lamborghinis, we're all in there. Yes,
right.
In one way or the other.
Yeah. So I'm much more comfortable with it now. To the point where like sometimes if it's not there after a show, if like I'm not getting that attention, I'm like, okay, what did I do wrong? Did I not perform well? Did I, are the songs not working? So now it's like a litmus test in a way. It's like, okay, how much attention does something get? Even if it's just Spotify plays or whatever.
Have you heard of the 27 Club? Kurt Cobain, Amy Winehouse, Jim Morrison, right? And I've heard a lot of people talk about it both in a philosophical and a psychological sense, and I call it the sins of the child artist. Right, it's getting famous too soon, and what that does is, oftentimes, I mean, I get the fact that 2 years ago my mind still operated in so much more of a monkey sense than in a human sense.
Yeah,
like I understand that I'm still growing up and I do not have a grasp of reality.
Yeah,
and to be put through what Justin Bieber was put through at 14, he's hyper famous and half the world hates his guts.
Yeah,
right. To be put through, in some sense, what you got put through is you are suddenly this object of attention and you don't even know how to be properly, much less manage all this attention. Do you think there is a such thing as being famous too soon?
Yeah, 100%, man.
And what do you think are its implications? Like, what does that do to somebody?
Well, I mean, I think I can only speak from my experience, but like, so when I was 18, I got signed to a major label and got kind of like shuffled around through that system. And for me at 18, I just didn't know how to handle it. So like, for someone like Justin Bieber, I can't even imagine what that does to your brain, man.
Right. With all the hatred I have for him, I have sympathy on the other end.
Oh, I love Justin Bieber.
Yeah?
I
think we should shut the show off. No. I get that, man. I mean, he's a successful music artist, and I have no doubt in the market's ability to sort that out. He did good. He did well for himself.
Yeah.
I also understand this weird fetishized hate that people have for him. It's like, and I think part of it has to do with the fact that he got famous, very famous. Every woman loved him. Yeah. All the girls loved him, and that's why I think men hate him somewhere secretly as well. It's because he suddenly no facial hair, but all the women regardless. Yes. Right. But you said you were not competent enough or like mature enough at 18 to manage through this world of labels and this world of production studios.
Yeah.
What does that exactly mean?
Well, I wasn't, so like when I got signed, I was like kind of sent around to different songwriters in Nashville and New York and Los Angeles, and like the goal was to write the hit song. And when I was 18, I just like I rebelled against that idea. I was like kind of I was just like anti that. And I wanted to like, I was so interested in finding what was true to myself.
Right.
That anytime I'd write with these songwriters, I felt like I was being creatively pushed in ways that into places I didn't want to go.
Uh-huh.
And formulaic places.
Uh-huh.
So in hindsight, I should have been a little bit more mature about that.
Uh-huh.
I think I was like kind of still thinking with a teenage
brain.
Mm-hmm.
It does not sound very teenage to me, though. You know, like as a teenage, I would trade my self-respect for popularity. That's what my teenage experience is like.
Interesting.
You know? I'd be like, fine, if you put me on stage with Ed Sheeran, okay, yeah, hell yeah, whatever you want, I'll strip. You know.
Interesting. Yeah.
But
well, I think that makes sense. So I think maybe it's mature in some way, but it also was. I also wasn't really.
Were you stubborn about it? Is that what you mean?
I was stubborn.
Yeah, you were like, stubborn. I'm not going to budge no matter what.
I walked out of some sessions.
Mm-hmm. That must have been very, very, I don't know, animated.
It was very empowering, actually.
Yeah?
But
what do you mean? Explain to me how empowering that was.
Well, just like I don't know, because I was 18. There was one in Nashville where they put me with like this country guy, and like Tomer makes fun of me. He calls me a country musician. But I
Shout out Tomer, you are a G, man. You caught him right in his act.
But I don't actually play country. But so I was with a country guy, and I just like he was like super not engaged. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, it's like you're going into a work setting when you're writing a song with someone, and he was sitting like this and like had his glasses on inside, and you know, I was like, dude, I'm out. Like I'm gonna go, yeah. And he was like, all right, man. I mean, if that's what you want to do, right. It was very empowering. But also like, it was a tough situation because there's just a lot of players when you're signed to a label. There's just like a lot of
interested parties involved.
Yeah, right. which is not a bad thing. It's like I'm not anti-label, but for where I was at that time, it wasn't what I needed.
It must also, like, swimming through the mud of too much interest, and I don't mean interest just on the part of public, but interest in the various components of interest that come in. So there is the fans, there is the other musicians you're playing with, there's the recording artist, there's the recording studio, all these. It has to be one of the most monumental tasks to accomplish as a musician at the age of 18, and I'm sure it has an impact on you not being able to devote as much time and energy to your music as such, right? That it would have had that impact.
Yeah. Well, honestly, what it did is just made me overthink everything. Because
in a paranoid way?
No, not well, maybe paranoid, but more in just like a, you know, I don't know. When you're writing a song, man, it's like the goal is to like get to the truth, the core of what you do and what you're trying to say and who you are. And when there's a bunch of opinions that you're also filtering in, if that's in it can be difficult to get to that like authentic place in your art. So I don't know. That was my experience.
There was a TED talk I heard once about creativity and the art of creative expression. I don't remember who said that. I will try and paraphrase it. I hope I don't butcher it.
Was it a lady?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Elizabeth Gilbert?
Possibly.
Eat, Pray, Love?
No.
Okay.
No.
Sorry.
But
go ahead.
Tell me if the story sounds familiar. And the whole thing was that she said that in native cultures all across the world there is a very contoured notion that there is a creative spirit that inhabits you while you start writing something creative.
Yeah.
Have you heard of that one?
Yeah.
And then she talks about this one woman who would say that poetry would only come to her when a spirit would come, and she could feel the spirit coming from afar.
Yes.
And this one time she was working in the fields.
Yes, and
she feels
runs.
Right, and she runs and the spirit's coming. And as soon as she grabs a paper and a pen and the spirit enters her, she writes the poem backwards.
Wow.
And that blew my mind.
Yeah.
And that made me realize and I use the term divinity a lot more loosely than the religious sense, but the divinity that goes into the creative process. Yeah. Especially for people like you and for other artists that I support. I had a rapper on my podcast a while ago. His name's Nakab. In India, hip hop is just it's just like a bubble bursting right now.
Yeah. Wow. Cool.
And I always feel, partly due to because I can relate to them, I am some sort of an artist in the sense of a struggling artist myself.
Yeah. Very much so.
It takes more, if you do it right, it takes more divine spark to create the right product at our level, or I think I'm still like 5 levels behind you, but like at our level than it takes for somebody like, say, somebody who's at the top, right? You know, somebody like Justin Bieber.
Because they have more resources?
Yeah, they have more leverage. They have more social leverage. They can almost oversell an underproduced product.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
100%. Yeah. No, that's. I know exactly what you mean. Like we're in the. Both of us in our own realms are in probably the hardest part of the journey.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? These first steps.
And I would be a little hesitant to compare myself to you at all, because I think I'm at least 10 stages behind where you are. But in some sense, I do get what you mean. It's like this. It's the wrestling match has just only begun.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not where we can be like, now we can rest.
Yeah.
This is where you just fight.
Yeah.
Right. But along the same lines, I want to ask you what are your music inspirations? What is it that you listen to when you have the time to, you know?
I mean, I'm just always listening to stuff, but man, I listen to so much music that it's almost difficult to answer that question. But
off the top of your head, who would you pick, say, the top 3 artists in your head?
So like I've been listening to Charlie XCX a lot. Do you know her?
No.
She's like a pop star.
I think you mentioned her the last time we were speaking.
Right. But she's just super dope. She's like a cool spin on a pop star.
Right.
And she's an incredible songwriter. So that's why I love how she puts a song together. Who else have I been listening to?
You recently came out with Leonard Cohen's Hotel Chelsea number 2.
Yeah. So I got really into Leonard Cohen this summer.
Right.
So I've been working my way through his records.
Right.
Because his stuff is like, you have to really focus to get the meaning out of it. Because he's a poet before he's a songwriter.
He's a poet for real, bro.
Yeah.
Oh, have you heard Recitation by Leonard Cohen? 1,000 Kisses Deep?
It's called Recitation?
Yep. It's just a poem. It's the most meaningful communication of love in English.
You know what? I think I have read that. 1,000 Kisses Deep.
Yep.
And he repeats that line.
Yeah, he says, I came to you this morning and you handled me like meat. It takes a man to know how good that feels.
Yeah.
My mirror twin, my next of kin, I'd know you in my sleep. But who but you would let me in 1,000 kisses deep? Dude, all of that, I still get goosebumps every time I think about that poem. I remember it by the heart.
Oh man, dude, nice work.
Yeah,
that's a feat to remember a poem.
I used to be a poet a very long time ago. Very long time ago in another life. So it's poetry just speaks to me in a different way.
Yeah, man.
But you know what that makes me think about you listening to a lot of artists? I understand how difficult it is to put together originality when you listen to a variety.
Yeah.
Right? Like when you mentioned she's a great songwriter and she puts her song together very interestingly, Charlie XCX, right?
Yeah.
I know because I listen to say 8 different podcasters or 8 different conversationalists or 8 different intellectuals and I know their styles. Something people from the outside might not realize. And then what is mine has to emerge from somewhere within.
Totally. How
do you know what is yours? Where is it that Zach comes in once he's listened to this variety all over the place?
Yeah. That's pretty. That reminds me. It's just like when you're in something, when you're in some world, you do see deeper you see deeper patterns than most people might see.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, but what is Zach? I mean, for me, like I feel I'm always trying to like tweak what I'm doing because like if I write the same song twice, like it's boring to me. So I'm like. Hopefully I'm always what Zach is always kind of changing. But like yeah, I don't know.
Let me reframe that question.
Yeah.
That might be able to help you.
Yeah.
My question is more to the effect of if you listen to as much variety of music and let's use genres to simplify the category, right? You listen to singer-songwriter stuff, you listen to techno, you listen to hip-hop, you listen to pop, you listen to all that stuff. How do you know what you will make? How do you know what my music will be? Whether I'm going to make techno or whether I'm going to do house or whether I'm going to do songwriter stuff. How do you know that?
Well, I mean, I think honestly, man, I'm pretty all over the place with that. Like, and that's kind of like a modern thing that like, if you talk to people today in the music industry, a lot of them say genre's dead because a lot of like big records are just like, this song has pop feel, this song has singer-songwriter feel, this song has hip-hop feel. So I feel like today you have a lot of freedom to kind of jump around genre-wise. But for me, it kind of always comes back to the acoustic guitar. And for me, I think I play very rhythmically. Like I didn't learn to play in a very traditional way. So like my style is very much myself. I think so. So Yeah, I mean, for me, it all kind of just centers back around the acoustic guitar.
Would you say this is a good enough point for us to have you play something?
A tune?
Yeah. If you're fine with that?
Yeah?
Yeah?
Yeah, I'll play it.
Let's see, what do you think you'll play?
I'll do a new one.
Okay.
New one.
Something that isn't out yet?
Not out.
Oh, hell yeah! I get that privilege? No fucking way, bro. That's so dope.
This is one I'm pretty stoked about.
And this is from your new album?
This will be on the new record. Yeah.
I want to talk about that too. I'm very interested.
Cool.
Wait a second. Do you have your phone on you?
Yeah.
I would want to get a video for our social media as well. We're at it too.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Because my phones are busy recording, you know.
Yeah. All right. This one's called Waves. You think you'll be able to hear this?
Yeah.
One hit, feel high, one more, and then I slip so easily. She said, sit back, don't hold tight, let yourself go in the moonlight. Tell me what you see. It comes in waves. See you in the distance, I need to change. There's no need for resistance, I'm telling you everything is temporary. So let them take you away. Well, it comes in waves. Well, it comes in waves. So an empire rises when it falls. Are you surprised it slips so easily? And that's why my heroes are Parkers like Peter and Quanah, 'cause they could see it comes in waves. See you in the distance, I need to change. And there's no need for resistance, I'm telling you everything is temporary. So let them take you away. Well, it comes in waves.
Oh, hell yeah, bro.
Well, it comes in waves.
That is such a privilege, man. Thank you so much for
Short
doing that.
snippet there.
I always find myself so awkward when somebody's playing music because I don't know what to do. Because I can definitely...
Me too, man.
Yeah, I can at the most just be like, just like give a rhythm to it. But at the best, I'm like, okay, yes, But it's phenomenal. Honestly, I was drawn into it.
Thank you, mate.
And I hope people who listen to this know where to buy the next album that comes out.
Oh yeah, I mean it'll be on the
Spotify
webs.
Yeah. But I remember, and this is something I've been sort of getting at myself too. When people ask me how I whip up conversations for my podcast or generally, I tell them that it is never a unidirectional. It's not formulaic. It's never really formulaic. It's a sandbox. Yeah. And the way I see the sandbox is I accumulate treasures and jewels and little pearls and diamonds and whatever I find everywhere I go.
Yeah.
There is always a book to be read if you look close enough to find a book in every situation. There is always knowledge. And then they sort of blend together in this smoothie. This aroma of a conversation that I build up afterwards.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that you are very fond of, or you worked in gardening. You would do landscaping at some point, right?
Yeah.
And then you studied literature at Columbia?
Yeah, pretty much. But I studied creative writing.
Creative writing at Columbia.
It's pretty much you study literature.
Yeah, you study literature and then you try to replicate some. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
How does that add to your artistic content? How does that work?
I mean, are you talking about the gardening and literature and all of it together?
Or tertiary activities that you find yourself a part of. All passions that you have besides music. How do they come together in your music?
Got you. Yeah. I mean, dude, man, they come together it's very connected. Mm-hmm. Like I have a song called The Garden. Mm-hmm. I have a song called The Harvest. Mm-hmm. Like I everything kind of all filters into the same place for me. And I don't know. I mean, I'm always trying to communicate ideas. I feel like I try to communicate ideas as a writer would, or a short story writer, or something like that. So I don't know, man.
Is there a Act 1, Act 2, Act 3 in your music as well? Is that
does that happen? Interesting. I'd say like on my new record, it's very. I try to really create like a thread that goes throughout the whole thing.
Right.
So I think I treated my new record as someone might treat a book of short stories or something that were all interrelated somehow.
Right.
You know?
Right. No, I gather
There's a
that.
narrative.
Yes. I found things that I'm interested in. And say, for instance, I am thoroughly fascinated by this movement culture workout regime that I now do, you know.
With the Israeli guy?
Yeah, the Israeli guy's philosophy is what is being taught by his mentorship students here in New York. And shout out to NYC Movement Corporation. You guys are doing a phenomenal job. And there is this sense of integration that they come about with. And this integration is sort of this easy progression, right? There is an architecture to it if you see it from afar, which is that all your body parts will be used in almost everything that you do, but we will slowly build them up from the very basic. So first would be ankle mobilization, let's just say. Then we would do something like calves and all the peripheral muscles in the calf, right?
Yeah.
And then we would suddenly start moving like a lizard, let's just say, right? So it slowly builds like that. And I found that this structure translates into my conversation.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know if this happens for you, and tell me if it does, but gardens are a piece of beauty. There is a poem, oh my gosh, this poem I was reminded by Rumi. And I might butcher it, but this is my favorite poem of all time. Rumi says, "Come to the garden in spring. There is wine and flowers and little somethings on pomegranate trees." Something, I'm missing the word.
Yeah.
He says, "Come to the garden in spring. There is light and flowers and wine on pomegranate trees." Something like that. If you do come, they do not matter. If you don't come, they do not matter. And it sort of speaks for this dichotomy of beauty. One in the object of love, which if it comes, it does not matter. Which if they do not come, they do not matter. And then in the inherent nature of the garden itself.
Yeah.
Right? Like you may or may not come. The garden is still as beautiful.
Still there. Yeah.
Right? And I've always found gardens to be this symbol of this object of sheer beauty. My mother's maintained a garden as long as I've known her. She's loved it.
Yeah.
She's almost never home because she works in a different city, but she has to take care of the garden.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the flowers speak in your music. There's a contour of beauty that you draw from your garden. Is that the case?
100%. Yeah, yeah, man. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, again, like I'm attracted to gardens and plants and forests and all that stuff. So much. I mean, one, because I love it and it's beautiful, but also because there's a lot of juicy metaphors that you can take from the garden, you know, just like the Rumi poem,
right.
You know, and there's just this, I love the idea of growth. And like when you're working in a garden, you're very sensitive to how everything is growing and how different plants grow differently.
It's a sensitive ecosystem for sure.
Very sensitive, man. And that's why it's, honestly, I don't have a green thumb. I'm like, I think it takes, I know some people naturally have that, like maybe your mom, but for me, my ideal is to have a garden so I can like take the time to develop a green thumb. But it's such a sensitive thing that it takes a lot of time.
Have you ever been a fan of Eddie Vedder?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Have you heard his soundtrack for Into the Wild?
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite albums of all time, man.
It's amazing. Yeah.
And I don't know if the world uses it, but I think me and my friend would call it something akin to a forest rock kind of a stuff, right? There was this very jungle-ish, this very foresty feel to the entire album that he creates.
Totally, man.
In one of the songs, I think it's Guaranteed. I think the song's called Guaranteed, and he just stops. Because the movie's going on and the song stops, but he literally just in the album, he stops for a minute and a half. There is no music. It's silent. It's like the album went dead. And then it suddenly begins, ding, 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 you know? And it's sort of like the way the jungle feels to me. It has all these surprises that you don't really see coming.
Yeah, yeah.
And I wonder if he spent time, like, you know, actors do, method actors. They spend time in those isolated moments too. Heath Ledger did that for the Joker.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a good question, because that record, you call it forest rock. That's like spot on.
Oh really?
No, I'm just saying. Like my experience of the record, that's like a spot on name for the genre.
And he does that with the ukulele, and that's it, right? The entire album.
No, that one has, it has some songs with like full band and stuff.
Right.
But that Guaranteed is the famous song, right?
Yep, Guaranteed and Into the Night or Long Nights, something like that.
Okay.
Long nights remind Me to see I'm falling. Have you heard that one?
Oh, yeah.
We should listen to that album once and get high sometime.
Sounds wonderful.
Bro, that yes. Okay, high five, man. I'm so down for that.
Sounds wonderful.
And you would also refer to the early fame and the temperament that you had with respect to that, the fact that you would not budge with your artistic desire, even though there was pressure from these variety of influences, these interests that you had. Yeah. And I've always wondered, because that is something my friends do to me. They would ask me more often than not, hey, you should, dilute your content. You should speak in a fashion everybody understands. Your metaphors are too obscure. And I've always resisted the urge personally. I've been like, hey, listen, man, if people want to get me, they'll get to me. What do you think about this tension between the artistic desire and the market demand for dilution?
Man, I mean, I'm in the process of figuring that out.
That tension exists.
Yeah, the tension very much exists.
Mm-hmm. Where would you err on that? What side would you?
Where would
guess?
I fall?
Yeah, where would you guess you would want to fall? Like, what side would you make the error on? Would you be pro artistic desire or pro market dilution? Because on one end there is this phenomena of, say, Mumford and Sons, who came up with this very new sound, very novel sound, and then there is all this, every pop artist wanting to make the next Despacito. Because it has that primal hook element to it, right? Yeah. So what side would you rather see yourself on?
I mean, I definitely fall on the artistic side, 100%. I mean, I think that's what I'm excited about. I'm excited by people expressing themselves as best as they possibly can, and when that happens in a really, well done way, those are the artists that I connect with the most. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's in podcasts, whether it's in music. Right. So I think the artistic sense is really important. I'm also a stubborn person. So like when people give me suggestions, I usually when I first hear them, I'm like, no. Everything in me just reacts and says no. I'm not taking that suggestion.
Right.
But
how dare someone tell me what to do?
Yeah, but usually over time I like start to see the wisdom in whatever suggestion they were getting. But I'm kind of like when someone gives you a suggestion and they say you should do this, like I'm like starting to really be turned off by the word should, because like I think we're all on our own artistic paths in ways, even if we're not artists, and like I don't know how much art we should be throwing out suggestions to other people. I don't know if it's helpful. Do you know what I mean?
I do. And this is a conversation I got into with my friends back in India this time. I was like, listen, this is the way I do it. I simplify the process. You and I can sit down and talk about my podcast for 20 minutes and we can walk through, first say the good parts of my podcast, the neutral parts of my podcast, and the bad parts of my podcast, and then you will give me 1 minute of the harshest criticism that you have for me. Right? So let's start with that.
Okay.
Tell me the worst possible thing that this podcast is, Once you do that, then I know really as to what the direction of your criticism might go. Because I know the good things about my stuff. I'm very much in acknowledgement. What am I blind to? Tell me, what am I harshly, willingly, consciously blind to?
Totally.
So start with that, and then I see with say 5-10 people, if there's a contour, if there's a line I can draw. So you tell me, hey, you speak too fast. People don't get what you're saying.
Okay.
Right? Or you say your audio is not particularly proper. I get a bad sound when I try to listen to it. Maybe one person said that. Maybe your earphones are bad. But if 5 people tell me that, there is a common contour I can draw and then work on it.
Amen. Yeah. No, I think what I do is like I actively ask people that I trust, what are my blind spots? Like what am I not seeing? Because I think that's very helpful. But I think I don't know. Like when I'm giving advice or critique to my musician friends, I just try to be as supportive as I possibly can, knowing that as they create more art, as they do more whatever it is, they will naturally grow. So me saying, hey, you should do this, I don't think it helps their growth. Do you know what I'm saying?
I do.
But I do think harsh criticism is very good.
I think the problem with the should phraseology is the assumption that there is a right. And if history has ever taught us something as far as the artistic domain, or even for that matter any domain remains, is that the right is yet to be decided. It's a retrospective analysis of what was right, never a prospective 100%. Analysis, right? So what is mostly happening when people are like, oh, you should do so and so, or you should do so and so, is them projecting what they would want to listen to, what they think is appropriate onto me. That's not my artistic desire.
Right. So exactly.
Right. I want to complicate shit for you. Let's see if you figure it. Like that's just me, right? I think a better way to begin is you could also, right? That makes the other person more comfortable to adjust. I'm harsh on myself. I'm harsh on everybody around me. If I ever have to give you advice, I'd be like, you could do that, but don't listen to me. You could also do that, but don't listen to me. I'm reminding you of both the sides. I'm absolutely stupid, but I also have the slight suggestion that might be helpful to you. Right? But don't listen to me. I'm constantly reminding people, but don't listen to me. I'm stupid. I don't know your art. I have no idea about music. You know?
Because then you allow... What you do when you do that is you allow them to explore it for themselves.
Right. What strings with your heart? What works with you?
Yeah, exactly.
Is it the latter part of me being stupid or the first part of me being smarter? What is it?
Well, you give them the choice.
Yes. I put both on the table and continuously.
Yeah, I think that's very wise.
I've learned that because people... This one time I released a political podcast. Such a mistake. I mean, I still do that, but this one time I released a podcast about India's politics. And I got calls and messages from all sorts of people telling me I was extremely left-leaning, akin to a communist, and I was extremely right-leaning, akin to a fascist. And I was like, both of them cannot be the case. How can you say that?
That's how subjective it all is, man.
And I was like, okay, I can't listen to y'all, you fucking people. You mean nothing to me.
Dude, exactly. That's the thing. I was like showing people my new songs and everything, and I would get the entire spectrum of opinions. Some people would say, this is the best stuff you've ever put out, this is the worst shit you've ever made, you know. And so at some point I was like, dude, I can't even can't make sense of that many opinions. So like, I don't know, I'm just gonna keep moving forward, right? You know. And like, I think a lot of the kinks in whatever you're doing get worked out through action, through making more music, through doing more podcasts, whatever it is. So I don't know, man. But
there has to be the process of action that you mentioned is like a feedback loop mechanism. I do something, I throw it out, and the world throws something back at me. Right? And that feedback loop mechanism has... So if my friends are not the feedback loop, right? If I tell you, hey, you should do this, you're like, you're not the audience I'm creating for. You know, my audience is the Middle Western, you know, typically white redneck, whatever, right? XYZ, ABC, or it's the East, it's a West Coast thing, man. It's not an East Coast thing at all. Oh, it's a 40-year-old thing. It's not a 20-year-old thing at all, right? Say if that is the case, where is it that the feedback lies? Does it lie in the number of hits that you get on Spotify and YouTube? Does it lie? Where does it lie? Does it lie in the comment section on YouTube and SoundCloud? Where are you really looking for that feedback, personally? Because that's something I haven't been able to answer.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I get it. The most direct way is I get it during shows. So like, that's how I test out if songs are working. Is if a song is consistently working, and that doesn't mean every show, because like I might have written the best song in the world, but it might not hit every show because there's so many factors. You just don't, like, you know, someone's football team might have lost that day and they're angry and they come to the show, you know. So there's all these factors that I'm not in control of. Your life's hard. Yeah. So I'll play a song, and if it's working most of the time, then I know I got something good. That's a really nice way of getting feedback. Spotify plays, that stuff does help, but a lot of Spotify, I think, is pretty political. That's actually something I don't know a lot about, is like how the algorithms work. Because like, technically, if you put out the best song in the world, it should get traction on Spotify, right? I don't know.
If it's an absolute meritocracy, right? If it absolutely is screaming for the best.
Exactly.
What do you mean it's political? In what sense?
Well, I just think there's relationships that the labels have with Spotify, or labels have with the people who curate the playlists. I think the people who curate those playlists have a lot of power these days. Like what's it, Rap Caviar? Yeah, like whoever is like picking the songs to put on that is getting calls from every artist you can imagine. because those spaces
And
are...
that person's a nobody otherwise, or is it Spotify that's doing that? I always thought there were Spotify albums.
Man, I kind of think... I think there's a mix of Spotify making playlists and random people who are probably making a killing.
Damn, man.
You know what I mean?
Can you imagine just like, oh, I have a great listening music taste, and so I'm going to make a fuck ton of money out of that. It's like eating pizza to make money, you know,
so
smoking pot to make money.
Yeah.
I just know what pot feels like. All of us do. Shut the fuck up, you know. But there is this quote by, I think it was Chance the Rapper, and I think I knew of the quote before we met, but you put the person behind it.
Yeah.
Right? And he says the market does not really know what it wants.
I agree with that.
Right? Like the market is, what it wants is something fresh. That's what they'll tell you. Oh, his sounds fresh. Before everybody's jumping on the bandwagon and like, oh, this guy is great. Right? What do you think about that? What do you think about the Chance the Rapper model of working your way up, which is this absolutely independent, I'm going to give the people what they don't know they want, but they do want kind of thing?
Man, I think that confidence is admirable.
Is bullshit admirable.
You know what I mean?
I know, man.
So yeah, man. I think it's kind of the way to go, especially because honestly, if you choose to go to a label or not, building your career as big as you possibly can on your own with the tools you have will put you in a better position if you want to sign up with the label. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right. You have the flexibility then.
Yeah, exactly. And if you choose not to sign with a label, then you know how to run your business. You know,
right?
Because you've done it.
Right.
But yeah, I agree with the market doesn't know what the market wants.
Right. And what do you think about this independent form of putting yourself out there? Because I sure as hell like see substance in that. I think that would be the best case scenario for any kind of an artist would be if they're standing on their own 2 feet and they don't need... here's what I think. I think the label, the production house, the HBOs and the NPRs and the iHeartRadios and all of these conglomerates, all of these high corporate power accumulating entities are seeing a downfall. I think all artistic medium are going through this rapid process. They've always been, but the process has been hastened now with internet and it's the Spotifys and the Netflixes of the world of democratization. Right? People are getting the power back into their hands. It's like, you want to be a musician? Oh, you have to go sign with that label. But guess what? Now we have Spotify. Host your music. Let's allow people a chance to decide. You know, this is what it is. Market demand deciding for itself. It's this absolute process of democratization. There were radios. People like me had to be on radios to do this, or on television, pretending like they knew what they were talking about. Even now, this talking heads phenomena is kind of irritating to me on news channels where everybody's an expert. I'm not an expert. I don't pretend to be. I pretend to have honest conversations, right? And it's a process of democratization. The very fact I can say I'll just have an authentic conversation and make a livelihood out of that is stupid 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Unless you had a TV show.
Right. Yes, exactly. Unless you were David Letterman.
Yeah.
Now, I think all that is dying.
I agree. But yeah. Okay.
Right? And I think Chance the Rapper was a manifestation of that. There's this independent form of creating your own self.
100%.
Gary Vaynerchuk, I have a lot of respect for that dude.
Yeah, me too.
I think he's a visionary.
Oh, me too,
and
man.
Anybody who hates him, and I meet people often enough who are like, oh, him?
Yeah.
I'm like, you just hating, bro. Like, that guy's speaking and he tells you all the time, he's like, people don't know yet what they want.
Yeah.
Right? It's
He's very wise, man.
He is. And he's aggressively wise. There's very few people who are aggressively wise.
I'm a big fan of Gary V.
Right? And then there is this comedian that I put you I put him in spotlight for you with. His name's Andrew Schultz. I don't know if you follow. Have you seen the one thing that he does with fashion? It's fashion.
No.
You don't follow him yet?
No,
this guy goes everywhere. And he has this one simple fundamental thing about him. He's like, there's nothing off the table when it comes to joking.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, I like this about him. Yeah.
Nobody gave him a special. So he drafted his own special, put it up on YouTube. This guy started fucking, and then he's called to Russia. He will go to Russia, crack Putin jokes.
Wow.
Right? He would go to Russia, crack Chernobyl jokes. He's like, for the rest of the world, it's climate change. For Russians, it's Chernobyl. right? He would do something like that. And there's an active translator who's translating his jokes there because not everybody gets English, but he would do that. And then he broke the system literally by vlogging his entire process. So he'll be in the airplane, he'll get a log of that, he'll be in the taxi cracking a joke with his friends, and then from there it'll lead to his special.
It sounds like Gary V.
It sounds like philosophy. Gary V. Yeah, he had an entire special of just crowd work.
Wow.
Where he's just dissing people in the crowd. 45 minutes, and he launched it the same day as Dave Chappelle's special on Netflix.
Wow, nice.
Right? That speaks for something.
Yeah, it does. Well, I mean...
And it's happening.
I agree, man.
Yeah? Do you see that? Have you been say in touch with people who've managed to, make it around the labels and the production houses for themselves?
Do I know anybody who's done... I'm trying to think of musicians I know that... honestly, I don't know anybody personally who has... Because, like, most of the bands I've toured with and stuff are on labels. Are still in that system. So...
this breaking the system hasn't really been a phenomena as much in music, probably.
No, the system is broken.
For sure.
For sure.
For sure.
It's been broken. But I think independent artists are still trying to figure out how they can get they can still get some of the power that the labels had behind them. Which is, I think we're in this kind of awkward transition in the music industry where people are trying to figure out how to do it. So honestly, like there's the labels are becoming more flexible. So it might not be like other.
The labels might adapt, is what you're saying.
I think the labels are in the process of adapting. Like there's this company I really like called United Masters, where like if they decide to work with you, they'll take like a song. Let's say you have a song that has hit potential or whatever. They'll take a song and they'll work it. They'll work it like a label would, with promotion and all that stuff. But they will only take percentage of your money for a certain period of time, which is actually innovative.
Right.
The labels, they would take a percentage of your money
for the rest of your life.
Past death.
That. Yeah. That's kind of weird.
So I don't know. I still think the labels have some good power, but
change is coming. There is a transition that's happening.
And and Chance the Rapper is like the
forebearer of that transition.
Man, he was the army that really pushed through that and showed us what can be done. By
just sheer talent and will and grit and whatnot.
Yeah, I think for him, man, a lot of grit, dude.
Right.
I think he works his ass off.
I'm so sure, man.
Yeah.
Even like for that matter, I'm a fan of break the system kind of a thing. I tell people come to me often, and I don't know if it's just my delusion, but I will see a particular person and I'll be like, listen, your personality is sellable. In the future, everything's going to be personal branding. Sell your personality. People want to watch somebody like you. You are entertaining.
Yes.
And I tell this to Jugnu all the time.
I feel this about you 100%, man.
I appreciate that. And I think it's a replication, it's a projection of my own understanding of myself on people.
Yes.
There is people who literally, I get texts I have reviews on my Apple podcast asking me to bring Jugnu on my podcast. I have people non-stop asking me who this crazy motherfucker is. Non-stop. And he's a crazy person. If you know him well enough, you'd realize that he works on if this is a regular room for us, for him it's a discotheque.
Yeah.
And everything's in disco. Like that's how different it is for him. And I tell him, your personality is so sellable.
Yeah.
Everything's, if you put Joe Rogan on anything, I will buy it.
Yeah.
That's the power of personal branding.
Yes.
And people need to get on that as soon as they can. That's my view. 15 years down the line, 20 years down the line, if you start now, you are one of the forebearers of that motion.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy. I mean, it's crazy that you think now, because I would have thought that like you would have had to get on that train 10 years ago. But I think you're right, man. I think that's the Gary V philosophy. Is like there's so much
it's a big
real
game.
estate in man. It's like there's a lot of room for everyone to sell themselves.
It's a huge cake, especially for artists. It's not like if, say, you and I are competing artists, if somebody listens to you, they won't listen to me.
Yeah, exactly.
They listen to both of us.
Exactly.
I put people, I'm like, start a podcast.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as people listen to you, they'll want to listen to me too, because if they find out we are related, if you're friends.
100%.
What that's going to do is they listen. I mean, there's not a competition. This is a cooperative motion for me.
Yeah.
And I'm going to build PG Radio or Prakhar Gupta on one end. You build Zach Heckendorf.
Yeah.
And it'd be great for the both of us. It won't be
we all
lonely
help
at the top.
each other. No, man, that's the place to be. Is a place free of envy or anything. You're just like, you want your people to succeed.
Right.
And you want to succeed, and
Right.
It's a great place to be in.
Tell me what's important for you in the music you make or you listen to. What's really like the essence of the music you like, whether the one that you make or whether the one that you listen to. Because you like pop music, and I have a tiff with pop music. I think they operate on some sort of a psychological primal nature that we have. They operate on very, very, how would you say, base emotions. Like Despacito works not because it has great lyrics or great music. It has that hook that sort of gets to people. Right? What is it that you like in music?
Well, so I mean, I like a whole lot of different things, but like for in the pop realm, first off, I like authenticity. So like if I'm getting that authenticity from any artist, then I'll probably like what they're doing. Do you know what I mean? But I also like in the pop, like I said, I grew up on like Backstreet Boys and NSYNC and all that stuff. I love good hooks. I love catchiness. And that's one reason I think I like techno so much, is because it's the most repetitive music form.
It's a looped black hole in the background.
Yes.
If it's playing, I don't even know if techno is playing right now. I can't tell.
Do you enjoy it?
Oh, I love it, man. It's like I can tune in.
Yeah.
I can tune in and tune out whenever I want.
Exactly.
I can study, and then I can be like, you know what I mean?
Do it totally.
It
propels you.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that's what I like, repetition. Honestly, that's like my thing. With pop music, that's why I like pop music. I like good hooks, But I also think there is smart, intelligent pop music being made. It's just not. It's never at the forefront, or sometimes it pops out to the forefront, but usually it's just somewhere in the mix.
Do you think with the repetition, the idea of repetition you have, is it like, how would you say it? An iterated incremental repetition? Like, say for instance, if I go from A to B, this one repetition, then the next one is A to B, but B dash also. Like, there is this one step forward I take with every repetition that I do.
That's very techno, man. I mean, if you listen to a techno beat, and this is very generalized, but if you listen to a techno beat, or even just a song that I make or whatever, it's like, it's one element. It's like, and then,
Yep.
So it's all. It's the same loop, but little things get peppered in.
Have you heard of this artist called Satori?
Yeah, why have I heard of Satori?
He's the kind of a guy Tomer likes. It's like deep house.
I've definitely listened to his stuff.
There is I think there's a Burning Man set that he has, or is that a Boiler Room set? I will have to look that up.
Okay.
But he has a 1 hour 45 minute set. And he gives you the time to realize what you were just saying. Like, he gives a layman the time to realize that. So for the first 1 minute, it's just one instrument.
Yes.
And then he adds a second instrument. And then he adds a third instrument. And like 5 minutes into it, it's a complicated cacophony of beautiful sounds.
Yeah, man.
Right? I love that guy. If you ever get time, I'll give you some of the artists I listen to. Tell me what you think about that.
Yeah.
I would like to see if I have any good taste in music.
Well, that's something I'm really attracted to in music, is patience. That's why that's why I like techno so much, is because like you can be in it for a long time. It's like I'm in the game of like 75 to 90 minute sets if I'm headlining a show, and I always feel like I'm playing like 3 to 5 minute songs. So it's these relatively short bits. I'm jealous of the techno people because of how patient they're allowed to be. And their audience is still like
hooked to them.
Right. So like that's actually something I'm working on in my sets, is like how do I do that, but like with an acoustic guitar? How am I able to be more patient, but with a different setup.
That might be the breaking of the system moment for you, in my sense. Because almost anybody, and take the best acoustic guitar acts that you have right now, right? And that could range from John Mayer to what's that guy who wrote James Blunt and whatnot. They have an average of 4-minute music. And it's not because their music is so short. I think part of it is also the push of the market demand, which is that anything beyond this, man, we're not going to listen. To discover a way to hold people on to your song for more than 5 minutes, if you start with that, you might probably be able to break the system. So imagine if you could create techno or the sounds of techno or the loops of techno with just an acoustic guitar and a few pedals. That would change the whole dynamic.
No, I mean that's honestly that's my intention, man. Is like how do I bridge these worlds that I'm so attracted to. I love Leonard Cohen, but I also love Nicholas Jar.
Oh my god, dude, that would be crazy.
I don't know. I mean, it honestly right now it's just kind of like a vision in my head, but
chase it like mad.
Oh, 100%.
Fight like mad.
100%.
The guy who I work out with, my trainer, he gave me this phrase recently, and I've been saying that a lot to myself in the head. I was trying to do this repetition and I could not do, and he's like, fight like mad, fight like mad, fight like mad. And I did that, and I was like, like I had no energy left in me. My muscles were dead. My muscles are still dead. I'm gonna go work out today too, because fight like mad. Fight like, if you want something, let's see you chase that. I want to see, because Nicholas Jar and Leonard Cohen both happen to be two of my favorites too, on like directly opposite spectrums.
Word, yeah.
I've been a thorough fan of both of them for the longest time.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this.
Fight like mad.
When you make music, is there a more formulaic approach or a more sandbox approach to your stuff?
Super sandbox. Yeah, definitely sandbox. But there is a formula to like, because it's like there's a formula to how most songs are written. It's usually verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. That's like the normal structure of a song. So I usually stick within that. But I would say the sandbox approach comes in the lyrics. Like I'm just like picking stuff out of anywhere. Do you know what I mean? I'm very free with where I let melody and lyrics come in. Do you know what I'm saying?
I kind of do. There is a notion, it's in fact empirical research by now, that creativity has a direct correlation with associated learning.
Okay.
How frequently can you jump from one tangent of thought to a different tangent of thought, and then a third, and then come back. Right? So what you did describe was very resonant of that, and I've been researching creativity a lot, say, over the last couple of months, because I'm going to interview one of the foremost researchers of creativity on Sunday.
Wow. Congrats, man. Someone from Columbia?
Yeah. Scott Barry Kaufman. Have you heard of him?
Was he at one of the colloquia?
He is the advisor for colloquia. This very cute, affable, adorable guy.
Okay, yeah. I think I
He has the Psychology podcast, is a podcast that he runs, and he interviews people on issues of psychology. Brilliant fellow. What a humble guy. I never use the term adorable for anything except him. He is truly adorable. But that's interesting. I wonder what that would do. I wonder what a scientific view on, say, the creativity aspect of things, or for that matter, what music and neuroscience and all of that would do to your musical output. What do you think?
I mean, I love that. I like getting heady with my music.
Right.
Yeah.
The way people hack systems. So, like, for instance, there is this guy who hacked the process of learning, and he became a jiu-jitsu black belt and a chess grandmaster in 1 year each.
Wow.
Right? So he figured out a way to hack the entire process.
Wow.
I wonder if there is a way to hack the neurological process to create the music that satisfies you the best. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah.
That would be super interesting.
Yeah. I know I was at a music festival in Barcelona a couple summers ago, and there was some company that was there that was working on some system to connect our biology with the live show. But that's what it reminds me of.
That fucking sounds dystopic,
like,
bro.
Right? Yeah, kind of. I actually wrote a short story based on that idea that you could control people with music. But
there's the Pied Piper of Hamelin. What are you doing?
What's that?
The Pied Piper of Hamelin. Have you heard that story?
No.
The Pied Piper who gets all the rats and then asks, and then so here,
I don't know this. This is like a fable, right?
Yeah, it's a fable. Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
I don't know the Pied Piper.
But tell me, what were you saying?
Well, but they had this company that was literally trying to like. I mean, my idea of it was like if you felt that it would have some biological response in you, like maybe you'd have something attached to you that was like. I don't know how it works, but I actually do think that is the future of music. Is like
that is so interesting.
Some weird. Yeah.
You know what synesthesia is, right?
Yeah.
When you can taste music and hear, all of that, numbers and so on. What if we were able to create something which, if we put in our systems, was able to make us feel music beyond just our ears?
Exactly.
Imagine being able to see Tame Impala's music. Not Tame Impala playing music, but Tame Impala's music. That would be... what is that one song that's very famous by them? One of their first albums.
If I Knew Better.
One of their first albums. This is way back. They got very famous because of...
Walking Backwards or...
No, let me remember. Where they have this beautiful video of it where this guy is going through the psychedelic kind of a thing. I'm forgetting his name.
I'm pretty sure it's like something backwards. Reverse or in reverse or...
Reality in Motion? No. Reality in Motion is recent. Yeah. But yeah, whatever.
Okay.
Tell me about your new album. What is it called?
It's called Hawk Talk.
Hawk,
like the bird.
And is there a particular reason for calling it Hawk Talk? Because that's like a very radio show name.
Yeah, it's it is a radio show name.
Hawk Talk. Welcome to another episode of Hawk Talk.
As you know, I've never even thought of that. Yeah. It's about... So, I mean, the idea is like the album is about the importance of taking your hero's journey. Mm-hmm. And just because like I've been through the past like 4 or 5 years, I've just been on this... The songs come from the past 4 or 5 years, and I've just been on this... just been really trying to figure out how to like, I don't know, be my best self. So the songs all kind of... That's the thread connecting them. And I see a lot of hawks, like they kind of just like come into my space a lot. And at first I didn't think it was weird. And then there was a couple moments where hawks would be like I had one, I was working in South Central Los Angeles at this garden, and I had this hawk land on my van, like while I was having lunch. And it was like the weirdest thing for this hawk to just like land on my car while I was out there in South Central, where it's like, I don't know how many hawks are there. Uh-huh. But so I started like thinking like, oh, this might be a positive sign from the universe or whatever, God or whatever. So I don't know. I gave hawks this meaning that when I see them, I'm on the right path. It's a sign I'm on the right path, whether that's real or not. But
it's strong enough if it's symbolized in your psyche.
In my psyche, it means something. Yeah, exactly.
It's
right?
strong enough.
Yeah, and I try not to get like grandiose about it, but just like, yeah, I see a hawk and it makes me feel good.
It's like a milestone on this road that I'm traveling on.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, that's why I call it Hawk Talk, and
so it flavors the album's flavored around a hero's journey, you say.
Yeah. Right. I think there's yes, it's very structured like a hero's journey narrative.
Interesting. So somebody goes out, learns something, then realizes that he needs to go back and then give it the secret superpower, this super esoteric knowledge to the people that he came from, kind of a thing.
Yeah, exactly. And like, so there's like, so then the album starts out where it's like, you know, the call that like I accept the journey. There's like, and I didn't do this like consciously. The songs I wrote kind of added up like this. But so at the beginning of the album, it's I accept the call, and then there's this like dark period where in the album I kind of like, there's a song called The Empty Song, and that's like the low point of the record, and it's about pretty much nihilism. Right. It's about feeling empty. And then I come out of that, and by the end of the record, the last song is called Stronger Than I Once Was. And it's like a triumphant song about
going through the motions, right? Like going through the good and the bad parts and then coming out stronger, kind of a thing.
Yeah. And I'm actually really excited about that song because it's like, it's a reminder to myself when I play the song, when I hear it, whatever, that I can come back from anything. Do you know what I'm saying? I've gone through enough stuff and obviously my life is wonderful, very peachy. But I've gone through enough stuff to know that I can always be better. I can always come back harder.
There's two very interesting ideas I have to that.
Yeah.
The first one is that every time I have been in a situation that I've had no idea how to navigate with, be that traveling in strange lands where I don't speak the language by myself, to emotionally strange places where I don't know how to navigate from here, to psychologically tough spots where I've been in an intellectual corner, all these things, every time I've come across and I've gone through, there is a part of me that whispers to me after that, you are alive. And I took that with me, and I started telling myself, I always come back alive.
Yeah.
I don't need to be afraid. I always come back alive.
Yeah.
Right? And that has allowed me, that has given me the permission to go harder at the fall of life. I fall face first. I don't fall with my hands first anymore.
100%.
Fall face first.
Yeah, man.
The second thing is, I've been reading a lot of Buddhism of late, and it's not out of religious interest, but more out of academic, intellectual interest.
Yeah.
And I restrict almost any stuff that I read, any stuff that I engage in is purely intellectual first, academic first, and from there it moves on to a personal level. And there is a 2nd century Buddhist philosopher, his name was Nagarjuna. Nagarjuna had a battle of wits with a man who claimed that the Buddhist philosophy, that the ultimate reality of everything is empty, is a nihilistic philosophy. And he churns the conversation in a way where he makes you, where what he sort of posits is that emptiness is not nihilistic. And it just sort of is a tangent to what you were saying. Emptiness is, how does he say? He says there's a conventional reality, which is what we see. And then there's an ultimate reality. What emptiness means is not empty of meaning, but empty of inherence. Zach is nobody until Prakhar is here, and Prakhar is nobody until Zach is here. And this podcast is nothing until the both of us are here. There is no being, there is interbeing. We are all on a continuity, a continuous spectrum.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like what he posits, and it's a very weird thought to grab your head around. That's why it's a whole conversation in its place.
Wow.
But the notion is there is no paper without the tree, there is no tree without the rain, there is no rain without the clouds, there is no clouds without the river, there is no river without the ice, there is no ice without the heat, there is no heat without the sun, there is no sun without, So there is a continuity of being. All of us are in this continuity.
Yes.
There is no inherent static existence. It's a continuous existence.
Yes.
And in that sense, we are all empty. We are all empty of inherence.
So it's like emptiness because of change, because of continuity of change.
Yes, it's a very interesting. The Buddhists saw the world very quantum. They never saw the world classical, like the way we see things. This is an entity, I'm an entity. No. The interaction is what matters.
Is this why you're into the quantum stuff, right?
Yeah. Heavy.
Is that partly so? Like, that's interesting.
I'm getting Tumer's brother to talk to me about quantum next week.
He told me. Yeah,
I'm super pumped for
Dude,
that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I know. Also, I emailed Brian Greene. Have you heard of him? Columbia professor, super famous physicist. For the same, I'm like, please tell me what quantum and string and all of this shit means. I'm just super into it. Because the class that I'm taking this semester, and I hope I can get the professor from that class on, his name is David Komodo Kitte. He has been trying to work this thing. There is so many Buddhist philosophical references from before science was a thing that refer to a quantum sense of reality that we realized in the 1900s.
Yeah.
We were touching ourselves for no particular reason, masturbating to this idea that we understand how the world works because Newton told us so for the longest time before we were like, nope, we don't get it.
Yeah.
We have no idea.
Yeah.
And that sort of builds me to ask you a question is does all your albums, all the music that you create have a philosophical undertone?
Yes. Is
that how you try to keep your music philosophically alive? Like, is that the intent? That people get a message from the layers of music that you...
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the stuff that I'm turned on by philosophy. That's just me. So, like, for me, that's a really important, is like, why is an artist doing what they're doing? So yeah, I would say this record has more of it's more conscious than it's ever been. In the past, the philosophical element has been there, but not always consciously. Now I'm very conscious of how this album is put together. That's why in a lot of ways this kind of feels like my first record, because it's the most
put together.
Yeah, it's most put together.
It's the most thought out, would you say?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And would you call this a process of evolution or a process of awakening? You know, is this like, which one would you say? Is this you've learned to do that, or you've just awakened to the idea that music is supposed to be this put together?
I mean, I think I've always believed that, but I'm at the place like with my skills and like I've grown into it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I've always believed that, but I think I've never had the tools to fully create a record like this until now.
I do. I sort of see the sense. Like, I mean, every time I have a conversation or a bunch of conversations for my podcast, and I go back and I'm like, this was very different from what I was doing 5 episodes ago. This was very different, and almost all of them feel like I look back and I'm like, what the fuck was I doing 10 episodes ago? Like, was I stupid or something? But it's mostly, I realize it's a process of constant evolution. It's a feedback I take from your interest in this conversation. It's a feedback I take from the people's interest in this conversation. Yeah. And then I'm like, and then what gets me off? Yeah. Right? I could have simply sat you down and be like, so what was 16 like? What was 17 like? 18 like? Instead I was like, these are the particular notes that I want to touch upon. Yes. And see what an artist thinks about it. Yeah. Right? These are philosophical notes, this vague fucking armchair conceptions that I have of reality. What does a real person doing this think of these stuff? Yes. And so it's always it's a process of constant evolution for me. 100%. Right? You know? What is the immediate future for Zach look like, and what is the eventual future? Hopeful eventual future for Zach look like?
Hopeful. So in the immediate future is I'm gonna go like hole up in this cabin in Michigan and just work on music and work on a lot of the electronic stuff we were talking about, and then I mean I'm putting out a record in early 2020, so I kind of feel my whole this whole next year is gonna be dedicated to that.
You're gonna be touring?
Yeah, that's the goal. A lot of these things are like coming together into place right now. So yeah, I mean hopefully I'm dedicating my life to this, so yeah man, I mean I'll be playing music pretty heavily for the next couple of years.
That's the immediate. What is the eventual? That's the immediate. Like how do you see yourself say 30 years down the line?
30 years down the line,
optimistically speaking? Yeah. Still playing music?
Yeah, playing music, but I kind of, I mean, yeah, I think my musical heroes who are like 50 and still making music, they're, I don't know, like someone like David Byrne or someone from the Talking Heads. They have multiple outlets for their creativity. They're not just musicians. So I think in 30 years, I'd love to like have some way of aligning my musical interests with my environmental interests. I'd love to like have a farm, a family, like all that stuff. If I could bring that all together in some way,
that'd be ideal.
That's my ideal.
Right. Yeah. Very interesting. Yeah. Do you see yourself as I mean, and this might be sort of a leading question to ask, but here is how I see my future, and tell me what you think about it. Yeah. If this thing takes off, if what I do, people find value, like you say, people might. Yeah. I want to be pushing culture. I want to find another Zach at 20, at 25, who's working his stuff, whose music I believe in. Yeah. And I want to tell people, hey, this is music, this music's fresh, this is great, listen to this. Yeah. I want to be in a place where I'm not just helping artists, but I'm actively in the business of helping artists.
Dude, I think that's
my end goal. It's like I want to bring culture to wherever I am. Say if I'm in America, if I'm in India, if I'm in Ukraine. Here is the next big thing. I want to be the one with the binoculars looking at that arrival of the next cultural hit. Yeah. And I want to be the one putting it out. This is the next director you should be looking out for. That's where I see myself.
Because you think you have a discerning eye for this stuff.
I have a passion for it.
And I think that's really cool also because like we need people to curate culture.
No more playlists only.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? All of the entire
and we need smart people with good hearts to curate culture, honestly.
Do you know what I'm saying? I have a good heart? Come on, man. I would never say that.
I get that vibe.
I try. Is there a question that you have?
I'm still trying to wrap my head around that emptiness as continuity.
It's a difficult notion. I can give you the paper if you want.
I would love to read it.
It's in fact there's a few papers, and they're I think about 20-30 pages each. If you have a nighttime reading session ever with that.
Yeah.
Since I've taken this class, this is what I think about reality. This is a biological spacesuit that I have, and I'm not this. Of course, I'm not my brain because that's a tool I have.
Yeah.
I'm possibly not even my consciousness because it's interrupted and non-continuous. I am nothing. Then the question might be, is this real? Sort of, because I perceive it. But this also, pretty much through quantum physics, we can say, is non-existent. This is an appearance. This is predicated on observation. There is no observer-independent phenomena at all.
Yes.
Right? Then what the fuck is real? Emptiness. That's where the Buddhists come in. There is nothing.
I get that. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And then the concept of rebirth, as opposed as I have been to it, right? I've always felt that as a means of social control, even though I have more evolved ideas around the same now. It makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Anything is possible, because all of what we think is possible is negligibly false, is entirely negated, if you were to look at things closely. Hume got to the same idea. Hume's treatise on human nature.
Yeah.
He was like, let's answer the question, who am I? And he's like, there is no way you can find that there is. Dostoevsky says the only ultimate truth you can get at with your thinking capacity is coming to the realization that life is meaningless, which is sort of similar to what they're saying, you know. So if you look deep enough, none of this makes any sense. It's difficult to accept, because then what of all the loved ones you've had? What of all the experiences you've had? What of the hopes and the dreams that you have? If there is no you, all of them make no sense. Right? That's where the dissonance is at. That's where people find it hard to accept the notion. How can I say my father is not my father? How can I say that love is not real? How can I say this conversation never happened? Or if it happened, it's meaningless? How can I say that? I put my heart and my sweat into it.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, so if for you, the emptiness, it means there's no meaning?
No. Emptiness means...
Like, is there meaning? Is there meaning?
Dependent.
Dependent meaning.
Right?
Okay.
That dependency. So what the Buddhists would say is that you need to get a hold of this conventional reality, what you see, to get to the ultimate reality. So it's not discardable. Nihilism is a wrong approach, because then you discard conventional reality.
Yes.
You have to give it its due weight, but not reify it, but not overdo it.
Yes.
That's where they're at.
Because if you deify it, then that's materialism.
Yeah, then you fall to the trap of behaving only to what you see. You know, then you are the same as somebody who sees a magician perform a magic trick and say that's real magic, because that's all you see.
Yes.
You know, this is all you see. This is not all you perceive. Or even if this is all you perceive, there is no guarantee that there is phenomena beyond your perception. You cannot see time.
100%.
But there is time, and it's a dimension. What do you mean it's a dimension? There is theoretical physicists who say that it is only because in our universe the concept of entropy applies, that things go from organized to disorganized, that there is a linear flow of time. In other universes, it might be the reverse, that chaos becomes order, and the time is going reverse linear, or there might be circular flows of time, and it gets extremely. I don't know why they don't. I mean, it's such a humbling moment. I used to think the most humbling thing I know is that I'm a monkey floating on a spaceship across the universe.
Yeah.
There is more humility to that the universe by itself might just be a conception.
Yeah.
And it leads you to this pantheistic view that Terence McKenna said. You were consciousness experiencing itself in so many ways, in so many forms. This is all the same. That's pantheism. And I am so scared to believe that. So fucking scared to believe that's true.
Why are you scared to believe that?
Because it's partly the same as believing that the world's a deterministic place. Because then I can just be like, okay, I'm not going to do shit if everything's decided already. One, right? It puts you at the propensity to be lazy. Two, it invalidates all meaning I've had in some sense.
Yeah, that's a.
Then I'm choosing to believe in a lie that Zach and I are friends.
Yeah.
It's not ultimately true. Ultimately, it's all empty.
Yeah.
But conventionally, it's true. Then I'm choosing to believe in an ultimate lie, but a conventional truth.
I can see how that would go to a dark place.
Yep.
Quick.
and I want to see how dark it gets with psychedelics in the equation. But it's been a great time, man. It's been so fun doing this. Thank you so much for stopping. Thank you so much for playing that song. I'm really appreciative of that.
Of course.
I am super excited for your next album, Hawk Talk, which is going to be on Spotify early 2020.
Yes, sir.
Let us fucking get that on, people. Thank you so much for listening.